This is David Diaz, former WBC lightweight champion of the world, and you're listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of The Truth About Fantasy Football, the Grueling Truth Network's weekly fantasy football show brought to you by Gridiron Mo. Gridiron Mo is a new interactive football app that lets you call the offense or defense in a live NFL game and compete against others across the country. Check it out at gridironmo.com or thegruelingtruth.net. I'm your host for the Fantasy Football Show, Matt Andruscavage. I'm here with Aaron Zepnik and Oz Davis. How we doing tonight?
Doing well, Matt. We're on to week 3 already. Before you know it,
week 3.
Before you know it, it'll be mid-season, and we'll be starting to talk about who's getting into the playoffs and their fantasy leagues and so forth.
That's right. It does go fast. Oz, you there? Or are you asleep?
No, I got to do the full disclosure here. I have just entered Margaritaville because I'm lamenting my 0-2 week in fantasy football.
That's rough.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate so far. Most of my teams are, or my 2 leagues, my team, most of my players are scoring pretty consistently, and I am 2-0 in both leagues, so it's gone fairly well so far, but I just lost Danny Woodhead for the season, and not too many other guys, but we'll see what happens. I'm not getting my hopes up too high yet. I've done well in every league, playoff time, but I'm still yet to win the whole thing. I keep losing on some weird thing, but we'll see what happens.
Can I talk about the trade proposal that I got in the Grueling Truth League?
What you got?
Can I talk about this? Okay, great. All right, I got to put you guys to work because I don't know. I'm really tempted to take this trade. Not. Here's the trade proposal I got, and then we can talk a little bit about it afterwards. I should give up A.J. Green, Ryan Matthews, and Chris Hogan, okay? And in exchange, I would get Frank Gore, Spencer Ware, and Odell Beckham. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, on the surface, I'd probably say no because Spencer Ware could quickly fade into the sunset as Jamal Charles is fully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Odell Beckham hasn't produced yet. And fortunately for me, that's been good because I've had to play him 2 consecutive weeks. So I've been happy with his scoring. But, I mean, yeah, right now New York is spreading that ball around. So, but A.J. Green didn't have a very good week this week either. So, at this point, I'd probably say no.
You can't be serious, though. You can't be serious. You are not seriously considering this trade, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'd look at it. I'd consider all things. I don't think that Gore is going to be real good. Who was the running back that you're supposed to – you're supposed to get Ryan Matthews? Well, he ain't that good either. Yeah. He had a good night last night, but the only thing right now is A.J. Green, just because of week 1, is better than Odell Beckham. But honestly, if it weren't for week 1, it's actually a fairly even trade just because of production. But at this point,
going forward, no. Going forward, this is a trade designed for me to take the bait, thinking that I'm panicking on A.J. Green. And I'm not panicking on A.J. Green. I also realize that Chris Hogan will be of limited value for the next couple of weeks with the Patriots quarterback situation, but I think he will get some numbers when Brady returns in a few weeks. So, no, I'm not going to take this trade, but I did want to ask Aaron, this trade came to me in the Grueling Truth League from a team called Ladies and Edelman, brilliant name, by the way, and who are owned by, let's see, Austin Zepnik. That's your last name. That's your last name. Do you know anything about
That's my son, I told you. And here's the deal. My son loves to trade and cut people on a whim, and he loves to overreact. When Eddie Lacy got a concussion against the Redskins his rookie year, he cut him. and he was in my work league at the time, and I'm like, I tried to pick him up, but I was like undefeated at the time, so I couldn't get him in the waivers. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he cut him to pick up somebody not very good. Like, I don't know who it even was. But anyway, I just told him yesterday, we're sitting there and he's talking about all these trades he wants to offer people, and I'm like, Austin, stand pat with your team. I said, you're doing fine. I said, you know, you're right there in the matchup against me. You almost won last week. Just stay with your team. You drafted guys for a reason. And he's the most impatient. It's almost an annoying thing because he's so impatient with his teams. He wants to always move guys. And
I know two people like that.
And to give you an idea,
it's very annoying because they never take your advice.
I can guarantee you, Oz, I had nothing to do with this. I haven't even talked to him about it until I told him, don't sit there and trade your team away. What if Odell Beckham goes off, you know? And I don't know what to tell you other than do what you want to do. And if he ever sends you a trade, it's not because I have any input on it. I'm not going to tell him, hey, try to get this guy from Oz. That's not who I am.
And then I'll trade you.
Yeah, although it could look like that when he's trying to get A.J. Green, I guess. But I want to boast for a second here and digress because I think we had a little bet last week about A.J. Green not getting 10 points this week.
Oh, yeah, he didn't get 10 points in my league.
That's right. I completely forgot. Oh, man. I don't even remember what was the mistake.
I forgot about that, too.
The show, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to bring that up. 2 catches, 38 yards, 3.8.
Oh. Yeah. What was my mistake?
It's what always happens.
I have to tell you how brilliant you are?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I don't know. You can't lose to somebody whose team name is I shouldn't win, Aaron, and be called brilliant. So we do need to clarify that.
This is
easy.
No, I will acknowledge your greatness. I also loved your call. You guys both made one brilliant call last week. Yours was that you're never going to start Arian Foster again. And I'll tell you what, if whoever started Arian Foster this week really paid for it. So, yes.
He's always one injury away.
You are a genius for these picks. Unfortunately, A.J. Green gets Denver this week. And so I figure he's going to be a pretty low scorer this week too, but I drafted him early, so I got to stand by him. And we start a lot of wide receivers in the Grilling Truth League. So
honestly, I heard when you said that trade, my first thought was, okay, the likelihood of A.J. Green and Odell recovering and going off to me is equal. It's the other. I'm telling you, I don't think either one is supremely better or worse than the other. Yeah, I think they both have good quarterbacks.
But A.J. Green is one of the few weapons in Cincinnati. The problem with Beckham this year is that ball can be spread everywhere. Did anybody think Victor Cruz was going to get this much attention that quickly?
No, I didn't either. But he still got almost 10 catches this week, so I still expect him to have a big year.
I thought going in, we talked about this a bunch of times. Aaron and I both talked down Beckham. That ball is getting spread a lot, and we were both high on Green as compared to Beckham.
I'm not that high on Green because I think he can be stopped.
Wow.
I think because he's one of the only guys in Cincinnati, I think teams can game plan for him. And I think he's going to be, there's going to be a lot of games this year where he's going to get you 5 points. Be ready for it.
Well, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, when you play a proper defense and you're the only weapon against that defense, yeah, that's when you're going to get shot.
Well, he's in the AFC. He's in the AFC North. He's going to have Baltimore and Pittsburgh twice a year. I think both those teams can stop him. And Denver this week. This is a terrible matchup this week for him.
Yeah. To be fair, Cleveland's secondary is not as bad as advertised. I think
Joe Hayden's really good.
Yeah, well, and Tremont Williams is no slouch himself. I mean,
he's a slouch.
He's getting older, but anyway, I just wanted to point that out, Oz. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's right. No, I'm sorry. I made a foolish wager, and yes, I should pay. But I had completely forgotten about it. Yeah, I was just mired in the lameness of my teams.
I will admit, though, my bet had nothing to do with A.J. Green's capacity to do well against the Pittsburgh Steelers, like Matt's argument. My bet had to do with I played him in week 1 and he went off, so he was bound to have a bad week the following week.
Oh, very scientific.
That's possible, too.
Very mathematically sound. Very good. Very good. I'm going to take back the remark about you being brilliant.
Well, since we've named off a few duds so far, who are some of your other studs and duds for the week? We can start with duds. So any other guys that maybe you were high on that just totally let you down this week?
I would say Allen Robinson as a whole in the first 2 weeks, stud for me.
Allen Robinson.
I know, guys are like, a lot of guys I've spoken to about Jacksonville's offense, including you guys. I think we kind of all agree that last year it was either Hearns or Robinson. One would have 20 while the other one would have 5. Well, this year it's kind of like, I think Hearns had one big catch against the Packers in week 1, but it's really been a fantasy dud for Jacksonville's offense. Bortles hasn't even done very well.
No, it's been disappointing so far.
Julius Thomas.
Yep, that's true. Jacksonville, the whole offense has been definitely a letdown. Yeah, like you said, Julius Thomas did pretty well this week. I don't remember what T.J. Yeldon's numbers were, but yeah, the wide receivers are not dominating at the moment. Maybe they'll catch on, but right now that's definitely disappointing. Who else has? Oz, what do you got for a dud?
Okay, all right. I'll tell you who the dud of the week was, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so I'm gonna grouse a little bit here. In the Grueling Truth League, let's see. I'm looking at it right now. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 guys who scored me 5.5 points or less, and these are not slouches as we talked about before. Some of them were reaches, but I could have gotten a few more points out of Rashard Jennings, Emmanuel Sanders, A.J. Green, Allen Robinson, as we talked about, and Dwayne Allen. All of these guys underperformed for me. In my Yahoo League, Travis Benjamin got me 29.4 points.
Yep, he's a stud
on my bench. So for me, the dud of the week is me. That's what I'm going with. I was my least favorite fantasy football player this week, by far.
So you Jeff Fishered your team.
Yeah, totally. I'm not going to go 7-9. Okay, I'm not going 7-9.
You got all the talent in the world. You're just not sure where to play them.
Yeah. We got this quarterback. We're gonna let him sit for a few more weeks. Yeah. We might dress him this week. We'll talk about my backup quarterback later in the show. But yeah, we're not dressing him this week. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think Allen Robinson was my dud of the week, just because he was the guy that I expected to do better. Antonio Brown didn't do. He was the only guy in my dynasty league to not get 10-plus points. But I did not expect him to go off on Cincinnati. I thought maybe he could, but Cincinnati historically has done well against him. Pac-Man Jones usually does well against him. And so it's not a complete shock. But I was hopeful that he could have got at least one touchdown or something like that. But Allen Robinson was my most disappointing player of the week for sure.
Yeah.
I also I would say Randall Cobb, and I'm going to get on. I got a lot more to say about Randall Cobb later on, but Randall Cobb is also in my top 3 duds of the week.
But let's be positive. Who was your stud of the week, Matt?
Stud of the week. Well, Travis Benjamin, definitely. Because
you kind of clubbed that one, didn't you, Matt? With Keenan Allen going down, I think you mentioned something last week's show about Travis Benjamin stepping in, being the number one, and how he would benefit from that. So I think you kind of called your stud.
Yeah, thank you. I really felt strongly about Travis Benjamin, even as the number 2 receiver, but now as the number 1. I would continue to play him. He's a guy that he's going to get a lot of targets, and if anybody remembers watching him last year in Cleveland, of all places, he's got a lot of talent. He can get open. He can do reverses. I think Phillip Rivers is going to be throwing to him as much as he would look for Gates, especially now that Woodhead's out. It's going to be Benjamin, Gates, and then maybe look for somebody else if they're not open. The other, let's see. I forgot my notes, so I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray is he quietly gets 20-plus points a game so far. I think he is. Derrick Henry's going to be a nice change of pace back, but DeMarco Murray is the number 1 back on that team. And as long as he's healthy, I would expect him to do fairly well each week. He catches, he runs well. He looks like he did in that 2014 season with Dallas.
Sure does.
And stay with Delanie Walker. If you've got Delanie Walker as your tight end, he is one of the most steady tight ends in the league. And he's the number 1 receiving target for Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, I played against him this week in our Grueling Truth League, and I lost by less than 2 points. And I just want to say I'm a huge Packer fan, but Mike McCarthy doubly screwed me. If he kicks that field goal,
yep.
Not only do the Packers tie the game, but I would have won my fantasy matchup against my son because I lost by literally 2 points.
That hurts.
Yeah. So when they went for it, I'm like, no, you better get this.
for completely different reasons than every other person that knows anything about the game of football.
Well, not completely different, just supplemental. You do take the field goal there. You do take the field goal there. Oh, and by the way, fantasy players will love you too. It's a supplemental reason. It's not completely different.
Yeah, I had Mason Crosby, so if he kicked that field goal, I would have won. But
see, there you
go. My studs of the week, actually, I have Stephon Diggs. Was on one of my fantasy teams, and we won't talk about how I did this week on air, but let's just say I put up a goose egg in the win column.
Well, I think we all know how you did now on air.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it, then we all know.
I went up against some pretty heavy scorers. So the other thing, Sam Bradford, did anyone think he was going to put up any fantasy points?
No.
Being there 2 weeks, and I understand the Packers' defense is not a top 5 defense right at this moment. Who knows if they'll get to that point, but I hope they do. But secondly, Isaiah Crowell.
Yep, there's another one.
Isaiah Crowell had a huge week. He's out there in a lot of leagues. I know he was out there in two or all 3 of my leagues. And the other one, if you're looking for a tight end, and Matt, you'll probably be familiar with this guy, Vance McDonald.
Yep. He was in my list of guys to add.
Yeah, so top waiver pickups, I think, you look at, Crowell, if he's out there. Carson Wentz is putting, not huge numbers, but he's serviceable. And Vance McDonald is a big one. There was another one that I saw on there that I was going to talk about.
Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is another guy. He probably isn't sitting on your waiver wire, but it's possible. He's good.
He was drafted in all 3 of my leagues.
Yeah, I would think the likelihood that he was drafted, but if he's out there, grab him. Yeah, the other stud that I had, I remember, was Matt Forte. Matt Forte has been very surprising He
very surprising. Do you realize he's number one? He's number one among running backs, which puts him pretty close to number one in the league. I mean, Jesus. I mean, this guy was like a 5th-round pick. You know, wow.
Right. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I could see him doing this a couple of times, but I wouldn't have thought he'd look. He doesn't look like he's slowing down. And I don't know how it'll be mid-season, but at this point right now, he looks fantastic.
It's amazing how these guys leave Chicago and then they become reinvigorated. You know? It's almost like there's this malaise in Bears land, ever since Mr. Cutler took over at quarterback. But it seems that, players who are decent in Chicago become like superstars elsewhere. It's the anti-Patriots effect, basically.
Well, the Bears are like a minor league team, so.
Isn't it?
Pretty much.
Isn't it?
Forever.
I mean, that's what it seems like.
You get to play them twice a year. It's ridiculous.
The Division II
and you get to play the Lions twice a year. I mean, how pathetic.
Yeah, you've got to play the Lions twice a year for the past 54 years or something like that.
Right.
That's
you guys can't win the division every year. It's almost like, what's wrong with you? You've had a Hall of Fame quarterback for 25 years in a pitiful division most of the time. It's pretty hilarious, but
they've got 2 Super Bowls.
It's as bad as it is. As bad as it would be for a fan, at least you're not a Bear fan or a Lion fan, or then you have to look at the Browns as well. But
that's
pretty rough.
The Vikings have never won a Super Bowl, but
no, they haven't.
They're even 0-4. I dare say that's like worse than being 0-4.
They always find a way to lose.
Yep.
But still, so I think we've gone through a number of studs and duds.
I've got some studs. I've got some studs.
You got more?
Because
okay.
You got to take another victory lap. Lap, okay? Because you said that you made one good pick last week, but I got another good pick you made. You iced my insertion of Martellus Bennett into the lineup. I had been pushing him over the. Yeah, he was awesome. Wow, he was good. I had been pushing him in the first 4 weeks, arguing that rookie quarterback would go to him often. Well, even Brissett went to him in that game. He racked up a good 26 some odd points, and I actually, in my only good move as a coach this week, as a fantasy coach this week, started 2 non-Brady, non-Gronk Patriots and cashed in because I also had Blunt starting as well. And these guys ended up being, Blunt and Bennett ended up being my best players. Now, that's a heck of a risk, if I say so myself, to start the 2 non-Brady, non-Gronk Patriots. But I managed to get away with it. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to give me the win. But so I did want to thank you personally for sort of, pushing me towards starting Bennett in that tight end position this week. Didn't win, but looked respectable at least.
Yeah, Martellus Bennett was on my bench, but I was very, very close to starting him. I felt like this could be a good week for him. Another guy that was a surprise to me, and we'll talk about him later, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about Danny Amendola, because this is 2 weeks in a row now. But maybe this is the Patriot syndrome where don't add a Patriot because they're never going to be heard from again.
Well, I'm just wondering, who's gonna be the guy this week. In my recommends this week, I wanted to put Blunt again. I'm actually thinking about starting Blunt 2 weeks in a row.
I think you should.
Because what the hell else are they going to do? But here's what the hell else they're going to do. Belichick is going to find some guy down at the YMCA, plug him in, and he's going to get 165 yards and a couple of touchdowns. That's what's going to happen.
And then they'll cut him.
I mean, and then he's going to be on Sports Illustrated, and then we're never going to hear from him again, right? I mean, this is what I'm afraid of.
I would start Blount again, and I would start Bennett again, depending on who you have in your league.
Really? Bennett?
Yeah,
because I figure
Bennett,
they're going to put him on the line. They're going to make him block like he did in week 1, because Brissett may need extra time to read the coverages.
That's possible.
Hold on here, guys. Hold the phone. I don't know if you heard this or not, but I woke up this morning and I was on my way to work, and I'm listening to the sports talk radio on the way to work. There's rumors that they're going to start Julian Edelman at quarterback.
He's the backup quarterback right now.
Yeah, he would have to be number 2 on the depth chart if Garoppolo is not going to play.
If they start Julian Edelman and beat the Texans.
That's what they're talking about doing. Julian Edelman started in college for 3 years at quarterback. And he
I know. He can play quarterback.
Anybody on the roster other than Brady.
If they pull off that win, they rename the Lombardi.
You think Julian Edelman? I mean, this is like Troy Brown getting 4 interceptions in 2005 as a cornerback. Right. If Julian Edelman throws like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Well, here's my question as far as fantasy league points go.
Wow.
Do you get those points if you put him in at receiver?
Yeah.
You have to.
He's a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I would think
on a trick play, you're going to get those points. You did last year for Tavon Austin. All those times he passed it, you got those points, right? So sure, you'd get that. Sure.
I would think. I mean, I have not heard this at all, but that would be that wouldn't completely blow me away just because it's something Belichick would do. But I mean, because I've actually thought about not playing Edelman this week.
Oh wow!
But I mean, I don't even know if I'd play him if he was a quarterback. I think I got enough guys on that team that I probably would bench him. But then again, maybe I should
take a third quarterback or a second quarterback if you can get away with it. He's sure to put up at least 10 points.
Yeah,
that would be. Imagine putting quarterback Edelman in your wide receiver running back flex position. You could start 2 quarterbacks or 3 in some leagues. That would be awesome.
Well, in a PPR, it probably wouldn't do you as much good because he's not going to catch the ball, or is he?
Or is he? Who knows? I can see the Wildcat happening here.
Yeah.
I could see him taking off and running. I could see him faking it. I could see him I could see jet sweeps.
Yep.
It's intriguing, and to think that, Houston's coming in there at 2-0, I believe. Yeah, they're 2-0.
Yes.
So I mean, a battle of 2-0 is with Julian Edelman as starting quarterback for the Patriots.
Right. And I bet you they win. I bet you Gostkowski kicks a field goal to win that game. After Julian Edelman does a wildcat play for like 25 yards with 20 seconds to go.
They win 13-10.
Exactly.
No, 3-2.
I could see this happening.
3-2.
3-2.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be something. I don't really know what I would do with the Patriots this week just because it's Houston. But if you, depending on how, what else you have in your team, I would not be, Garrett Blount's going to get a lot of carries. I think he'll be effective even against Houston's defense. And I think Bennett would do well enough at tight end that I think he'd be all right. But if Julian Edelman is the quarterback, I'm not sure. Who knows? But I think LeGarrette Blount is a more safe pick.
Yeah, the game is on Thursday. If you're going to start, look, Belichick, it's ironic because Belichick can make that kind of decision, but you as a fantasy football owner cannot. Am I going to start Edelman at quarterback? Jesus. Come on. I'm supposed to consider that? No, I think I'll go with Dak Prescott.
Right. Well, what do you guys think for some startums or situms for this week?
Start anybody playing the Buffalo Bills.
How about it?
And who do they play this week?
I think Arizona.
Yeah, I think Arizona goes to Buffalo.
If you have John Brown, Michael Floyd, Larry Fitzgerald, Jermaine Gresham, David Johnson, Carson Palmer, you start them.
Yeah.
Especially after Arizona put up 40 on Tampa Bay, who looked really good in their first week matchup against Atlanta. I think that Atlanta-New Orleans game is going to be a shootout on Monday night. I'd also start anyone playing on those two teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, except be careful because we reckoned that New Orleans, New York was going to be a shootout last time.
We thought so. But New Orleans is going to at least put up points. You start Willie Snead or Brandon Cooks for sure. When they're at home, Breeze is much, much better at home.
Yeah, he is.
Good, I have Breeze this week.
Yeah, Breeze on the road is not very good, but at home, you have to start him if you depending unless you have unless you got I would say Aaron Rodgers, but not sure there. Not sure about Andrew Luck. I'm not sure about Russell Wilson. So who would you start? But I would definitely be looking at. Go ahead. So what else for start him and sit him?
I know Dwayne Allen had only 2 catches for 25 yards this week, but Oz, I'm telling you, start Dwayne Allen this week. He will have a better week.
Well,
is he at home?
San Diego.
The grueling truth, I have to.
Yeah, I would agree. San Diego Colts should be a shootout. Dwayne Allen should do much, much better this week. I did not like Dwayne Allen against the Broncos on the road. I think I said sit him, but this week you start him.
Absolutely.
And you start Benjamin against the Colts.
Yeah.
Benjamin is going to light them up. They don't have any defensive backs there. They have a pile of rocks lining up against Travis Benjamin.
You are correct, sir.
Speaking of Benjamin, start Kelvin Benjamin. Don't be an Aaron and sit Kelvin Benjamin 2 weeks in a row. He scored 2 weeks in a row.
Kelvin Benjamin?
I did too.
You said Kelvin Benjamin?
To be fair, I have Antonio Brown, Stephon Diggs, and I picked up Will Fuller.
You played Stephon Diggs over Kelvin Benjamin?
Yes.
Stephon Diggs is probably going to have 3 or 4 games, quality games all year. Although unless Sam Bradford really is going to play this well, but Kelvin Benjamin's a beast.
Well, the first week I was in the how's he going to come back mode, and they played Denver, and he had 6 for 75 and a touchdown, and I'm thinking, man, I just don't know if it's going to be consistency. So I started Stephon Diggs, Antonio Brown, and Randall Cobb, mostly because I could watch them play Sunday night. I like that when I can watch the guys play against each other. And then I was playing my son, and I was like, I can come from behind and beat him, and it actually almost worked.
No, you probably would have won if you played Kelvin Benjamin. Although Stephon Diggs had a good game, though. So
he did. He had a very good game.
But, yeah, I would still play Kelvin Benjamin this week against Minnesota.
I will start Kelvin Benjamin until he gives me a reason not to.
Yeah, I think he's...
Stephon Diggs has put up 10.2 and 27.2. So he's got 37 points on the year. He's actually having a pretty decent start. 16 receptions for 285 yards, only 1 touchdown, but he was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I like as far as sitting, I would sit Eddie Lacy. I would sit Carlos Hyde. I would sit Cincinnati running backs, both of them. They're averaging 2 yards a carry. Giovanni Bernard had some yards in the air, but Jeremy Hill, you got to sit against the Broncos. I just wouldn't bother. I think they're trying to remember if there's anybody else. It's getting to the point now where I would not even. I don't think Randall Cobb is a viable wide receiver 2 anymore. I think he is a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, he's my wide receiver 3 on the team with Antonio Brown, Stephon Diggs, Kelvin Benjamin, and Cobb. I looked at him as my 3rd, and Kelvin Benjamin is now my flex. So I have all 4 of them in my starting lineup, which I think bodes well for me going forward. And I have Gronk coming back in that league as well. So.
Well, right. My league's Randall Cobb is listed as a 2, and I just don't think Randall Cobb is going to get a lot of production this year. I think he's going to struggle this year. So I wouldn't be putting him in my starting lineup unless I had to.
I feel like I should be hanging up right now, but I can't because you're right. He's like my favorite Packer. He's from Kentucky.
He's a good player. But fantasy-wise, I don't know. I just don't think he's.
See, you got to have the separation. I mean, I look every time I see something from the Patriots, and I see Bennett. He's ripping it up. I mean, that may be the best acquisition I was made this offseason, was scoring this guy by the Patriots. I mean, because he can block, he can feint, he can go short, he can go long. I mean, this guy is doing it all already in 2 games without Gronk. But yet, as we saw in week 1, I mean, he pretty much dominated that game, and he didn't even show up in the fantasy stats. He got like 5-6 points in the flea flicker, scoring system. So you can't always go with the fantasy thing. I mean, Jesus, Aaron, don't let it get you down if your favorite player can't play fantasy. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. Doesn't mean he's not relevant.
I love Torrey Smith on my team in real life, but I would never draft him.
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
It's just some player. It's different. Real football is different than fantasy football. 2 quarterbacks I would sit. Andy Dalton. Don't play him this week. He's been real good statistically. This week I in Denver or against Denver. Not in Denver, but Denver's coming to Cincinnati. I don't trust it. He's not going to put up. I just don't believe he's going to put up 350 yards again.
I got to get in here too, because I had on my buyer beware list this week Emmanuel Sanders and the other Broncos. I think here the Broncos, having played 2 games at home, going to Cincinnati, playing a pissed-off Cincinnati Bengals team. I don't think this offense is going to score very many fantasy points this week.
Very possible.
I think that's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be like a 19-13 game, or
sure.
21
17-13. I could
21-17. It shouldn't be a lot of scoring in this game.
Mm-hmm. Might be good defenses. Cincinnati and Denver this week.
Right. I think Denver's defense again getting it done with 2 defensive scorers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously you can't rely on it, but
I'm going to just talk about my quarterback situation here for a second. I'm going to bench Blake Bortles this week in favor of Alex Smith. Alex Smith playing the Jets.
Really? Wow.
Who
That's
are
surprising.
28th against the pass as far as passing yards.
Wow.
And Blake Bortles is playing Baltimore, and Baltimore's pass defense is actually really good against opposing quarterbacks. So, yes, I'm benching Blake Bortles.
Wow.
The Jets are giving up 2 touchdowns a game and 28.67 fantasy default points to opposing quarterbacks. Meanwhile, you got Baltimore, who is like 6th in the league, and they're giving up less than 22 points to opposing quarterbacks. I just think that, I've actually, they're first in yards. They've only allowed 185 yards a game.
It's against the Bills and the Browns, right?
Yeah, but the Bills actually move the ball and put up points against them.
Yeah.
Well,
and then they fired their offensive coordinator for putting up 31.
Yeah.
Statistically, I think you make good arguments, but I still would not play Alex Smith this week. I would play Blake Bortles.
See, I'm glad you brought this up, because in both my leagues I have the same situation. I have Bortles as my starter, and I have Dak Prescott as my backup. And Dak barely outscored. I mean, it was basically close. Dak barely outscored Blake in Yahoo, but then Blake barely outscored him in Flea Flicker. Okay, so they're basically putting up the same numbers. And I was thinking about this, but I think I'm going to start with I think I'm going to stick with Blake this week. And I'm consoling myself with the fact that Dak Prescott gets the lowly San Francisco 49ers in week 4. So I think next week I'll be switching off of Blake and onto Dak, at least for a week.
Dak does play the Bears at home.
Yes, this week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott,
and which is not the greatest defense in the world, but they are pretty decent against the pass. So
I will tell you this. So you say lowly 49ers. I'll tell you this. Statistically, Aaron brought up some good statistics. Statistically, they're in the top 5 in a couple of advanced metrics on Football Outsiders. So
I just wanted to take a shot at the 49ers.
I figured.
To be totally honest,
I'm not going to pick on the Rams because we first of all we pretty much own you guys, but secondly, you guys did us a favor by beating the Seahawks.
Yeah, I know. I'm still angry about week 1, and I realized that our week 2 only did you guys good. So I just had
when
to
are you guys going to score in your stadium? It's been 22 years.
Round about 2018. That's when we're moving into the new stadium, right? So that sounds about right. Well, unless that offensive line can figure out how to create Gurley a hole in the middle of the field, they're not going to score a touchdown.
Who do you guys play this week?
They're not. Let's see. The Rams get Tampa Bay.
You got a shot there. I think Ty Gurley's got a very reasonable chance to have his first good game.
Well, actually, I'm glad this came up because here's an interesting little thing I found out researching for the Rams show is that the Buccaneers in the past year and a half or so have been very weak against passes out of the backfield. For example, against David Johnson last week. Johnson only got about 50 yards rushing on a bunch of carries, like a dozen carries. But he managed 98 yards on 3 receptions. So, and I mean, this is just one example. So I'm thinking Tavon Austin, if you're desperate, might make a good play.
If you have Tavon Austin in a situation where you need to put him as a wide receiver 1 or 2, man, that's
or flex or a lot of skill players went down this week, right?
Yeah, that's
especially at running back. I mean, you might be desperate enough to put him in flex. I'm not, thank God, but you might be. I mean, I saw him starting in week 1.
What do you guys think of benching Jeremy Langford?
Not bad. It's not a bad decision.
Yeah, no, I'm just not sure. I'm not confident that he's viable right now.
Don't think so.
If he can't run on Philly, and put up big numbers, I don't know who he can. I think he scored a touchdown last night. I'm not sure what he ended up.
From a yard out.
But I don't think he had more than 14 fantasy points. Yeah, I'm not a big Langford fan. I generally don't pick a lot of Bears. I do like Alshon Jeffrey. But now with Cutler, who knows how long he'll be out. Just wanted to touch base, too, on another intriguing point here. Start Detroit Lions this week. The Packers gave up a lot of fantasy points to the Vikings and through the air. Sam Shields, there was an article in the Green Bay Press-Gazette this week.
Yeah, what's going on with him?
I'll be covering this on my Packers Weekly show. Sam Shields has had 3 concussions in less than 2 years, 2 in the last 9 months, and he's contemplating retiring. So that is a huge blow to the Packers secondary. And Richard Sherman leads the league since 2010 in interceptions, and Sam Shields is actually second among active players. So a little bit of a trivia tidbit for you here into our fantasy show. I know it's not that type of show, but Marvin Jones, I expect to have a big week this week. Anquan Bolden always seems to kill the Packers, right, Matt?
Yeah, that is true. His 108-yard performance was very memorable.
Yeah, so I would start any of the Lions.
I think Golden Tate would be the one guy for sure that I think would be able to get open. And I'd also can really be considering Theo Riddick and Eric Ebron. I think the middle of the field is usually where Green Bay struggles, especially because they've been young, very young at inside linebacker now, going on 5 years.
Yeah,
and,
but I'll disagree with the
Ebron
Ebron
the same problem every year.
I'll disagree with the Ebron thing in the tight end because Micah Hyde's been covering the tight end. He's kind of that hybrid safety corner.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And he's been covering the tight end. The tight ends haven't really hurt us. Rudolph had one catch on a nice throw by Bradford on a touchdown last week, but really he didn't do much other than that. So I think that Ebron's a little more athletic than Rudolph, and I think he can pose matchup problems to a lot of players. But I think Micah Hyde's kind of that guy that can offset him. So I would disagree with the Ebron, but I would go with Marvin Jones or Golden Tate or Anquan Bolden if you have him. Theo Riddick, I have him in all 3 leagues, and I'll probably start him in 2 of them. So, again, he didn't put up what I thought he would this week, but Tennessee's got a pretty strong defense. It's 2 games in a row they haven't allowed. I think they allowed 1 offensive score so far this year.
Okay. Anybody else have a start 'em or a sit 'em?
I'm going to start Oz this week. Oz, you should be a better player and coach this week.
I can't be worse than last week. My God. I figure I'm okay, though. In my Yahoo League, I started 0-2 last year. I ended up in 3rd place, and I played in the championship. So I feel pretty good about my chances there. The Grueling Truth League, I can't get a beat on because, in all respects, I should have lost in week 1. I mean, when, Gurley can't score me 2 points or 3 points or whatever, I probably should have been gracious and taken the loss. So I've been pretty bad this year, hoping to come back in week 3. Where are you going to start me, at the flex?
I was thinking of a quarterback. If Edelman can start a quarterback on the Patriots, you can start a quarterback on Mike.
That's right.
And Edelman, yeah. We're going to run the Wildcat.
Well, you got Tavon Austin. Oz, if you can put Tavon Austin in at wide receiver 2 or 1,
Jesus.
then we can start Oz at wide receiver 1.
How's Farrah Cooper doing?
Oof.
I don't think he's played.
No.
I think he's been on the inactive list both weeks, if I'm right.
Yeah. He hasn't even made the regular roster. Really a disappointment. But I don't know what's going on there anymore. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. I mean, okay, our defense looked awesome last week, but that's what we expect, or at least the front 7 looked awesome.
Own Seattle's offense.
But, we thank Ndamukong Suh for, tenderizing the offense a little bit for us.
He was slower.
Yeah, he did not have the mobility. But like the defense, but geez, as far as the offense, I mean, what's going on? I mean, when 50% of your passes are behind the line of scrimmage, and come on. Your whole game plan is about getting the quarterback to release the ball early and within 7 yards. That's not much of a game plan. So I don't know what's going on.
Kind of rough.
Yeah, Farrell obviously has tons of talent. He looked great in the preseason. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns in the 3 games that he played. I mean, looked great. Thought he was moving up, but no consideration. So go figure.
I've got one last stardom. D'Angelo Williams. Might
as well get him in one more week, because next week he'll be done.
One more week. Yeah, you got one more week and 32 carries this past week. I mean, the guy's a workhorse. He will score. He'll catch the ball for you, and he'll get lots of carries on the ground. There's every reason to start him. I don't remember who they're playing, but I want to say it was when I looked at it, I thought it was a pretty favorable matchup. But I'd start him regardless. I think he's that important to their offense. And if you have not picked up Jesse James and you need a tight end, telling you, you watch him out there, watch the way he runs routes, watch the way that he just runs those short little routes. He looks exactly like Heath Miller, just maybe not quite as fast.
I did see the highlight where in the end zone he went up and got that ball this week. I actually put in for him. When I put in for him in one of my leagues, no problem going and getting him.
Yeah.
I just want him on my Madden team next year. Isn't that temporary as well, though? I mean, will he continue to get those numbers?
Heath Miller retired.
No. I mean, no, Jesse James. Will he continue to get these numbers?
I think he will because of the way Pittsburgh uses the tight end and how important it is to the offense.
I think he'll go up even more.
Yeah, I think he's going to get even better. You watch him out there. You watch if you know anything about the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, and if you've watched them the last couple of years, the production that Heath Miller gets, I would expect Jesse James to at least match that, if not surpass it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, I'm picking him up.
Yeah, and pretty much anybody on the Steelers is a good pick. They've got a couple of really good receivers over there besides Antonio Brown, and they just got a really good offense out there.
Yes, they do.
All right. Anybody? Any final words? Final advice? Anything before we get off the air tonight?
Ready?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
Do you have your streaming defenses ready?
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about some streaming defenses. I took a bath last week, but the shootouts, the games that we expected to be shootouts were not shootouts, and the games that we expected to be low scoring were not low scoring. I believe I recommended both Buffalo and the Jets. Neither of those did very well. In one league I had Buffalo, in the other league I had the Jets, and neither of them scored me very many points, so that wasn't very good. I saw that you had New England, Aaron, in the Grueling Truth League. How many points did they get you? Not too many, right?
New England, I believe,
They had 2 interceptions.
I want to say 5.
Yeah, see, not much.
They give up a lot of points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. A lot of garbage points surrendered there by the defense.
10. So, 10 this week.
Oh, 10? Oh, okay. So that's not bad. Just looking at the score. Exact. Looking at the score, it looked worse than it did. A lot of the defenses that I had picked out this week are no big surprise. Houston or New England, you might want to think about. Would you believe that Houston is the favorite in that game by 1 point at New England?
That's
pretty
surprising.
Interesting. Pretty interesting.
But,
yeah. The over/under on that is 40.5.
Obviously,
but you would figure with a short week, the 4 to 5 days, even if the Patriots are still going with a third string or fourth string quarterback, that you would still have to give an advantage to Belichick, right? I mean, he's going to be more prepared on 4 days than the opposition coach will, right? So I thought that was kind of a strange line. And the over-under on that is 40.5. So that's pretty low. So, but, these are not defenses you're going to get on the wire. The big winner of the week, and again, a little bit of a leap of faith here, is Miami playing Cleveland. The over-under on this is 41.5. Cleveland will be down to their third string starter. My God. And Miami is a 10-point favorite in this game. Vegas is expecting Cleveland to go single digits in this game and probably have a lot of turnovers. So Miami is probably your streaming defense of the week. Not too many other outstanding lines, like I say, with defenses that you wouldn't expect. Carolina is favored by 7 against Minnesota with an over-under 43. So that's a really good pick, but Carolina is a popular defense. We've also got Another decent pick here might be Tampa Bay against the good old Rams. Tampa Bay is now 5.5-point favorites. Earlier today, they were 4.5-point favorites, but the over-under has stayed at 42. So we're not expecting the Rams to score a lot. Probably won't score a touchdown. Tampa Bay might also be a good start. So yeah, I guess your streaming defenses that might still be available on your waiver wire to pick up this week are Tampa Bay and Miami. And I'll stick by that.
Yeah, I think for sure Miami. You can't go wrong playing Cleveland right now, especially at home. They have a good offense. I think their defense probably gets you some points.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams haven't scored a touchdown yet this year, have they?
Nope. No, sir.
Wow.
Yeah,
When's the last time the Los Angeles Rams scored a touchdown? That was a good trivia question.
We're averaging 4.5 points a game.
Wow. Tough to win games that way, but they're 1-1. That's the sad part.
That's right. Yeah. We're on pace for a 72-point season. Very excited.
That's rough.
Very excited here in Los Angeles. Well worth $1 billion stadium, I think.
Well, if not, on that note, we're a tornado shelter.
Well, we needed the earthquake shelter, though, right?
Oh, it could be used as a tornado shelter because there won't be a touchdown there.
Oh boy. Well, on that note, we're gonna get off the air here. So be sure to check out all of our articles and other podcasts on thegruelingtruth.net. We got lots of other team shows. I've got a 49ers show. Aaron's got a Packers show. Has a Rams show. We got a Bengals show. There's a Steelers one out there. You can check out all of those. We got boxing, baseball, and, of course, the CFL and an NFL Pick'em show. So be sure to check out all the podcasts on thegruelingtruth.net or on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, or Google Play, wherever podcasts can be found. You'll find us. So, for Aaron Zepnik, Oz Davis, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth Weekly Fantasy Football Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, where the legends speak.